Okay, so if you were to ask me 10 years ago, where would I be at 50? Honestly, I would have thought that I wouldn't be working a 9 to 5. I would have a successful business, maybe a couple of locations, 2 or 3 locations. My husband and I working together, him working with me on my business, me working with him on his business, us basically just working together, building and having a thriving business. Cue the violins, because that is not where we are right now. Here's the challenges that changed everything for both of us, not just for me. My husband's mom passed away. I was alongside with them. My mom was alongside with them. We had a commercial kitchen here in Southern California. Everything was going well. Everything was beautiful. You know, it was kind of at the end of the pandemic, and it was an exciting time for both of us. We had invested a lot of money. His food was amazing. He just put his heart, his soul, everything into building this business. And then his mom passed away. And I felt like his entire world turned literally upside down within a matter of, I would say, days. He gave up his food business. He no longer had the desire to cook. I saw my husband, who was always fun and vibrant and just ambitious, become a shell of himself. And at the same time, we were both grappling with the loss of his mom, my mother-in-law, my business, now his business, us just flailing. We both started to flail, and we both struggled, and he went back to working in corporate. I ended up getting a corporate job, and we weren't making as much money as we needed to. So we went from having thriving businesses to slowly but surely struggling to make ends meet. Barely just getting by. And it was a time when we both were falling into a dark place, and we were depleted from everything, our emotions, our thoughts, our faith, our hope. Everything was just leaving us feeling lifeless. That's the only way that I can describe how our worlds started to change. Health issues, I started to we both attracted quote unquote friendships who was just taking and sucking the life out of us. We didn't have much to give, after everything was going on. But the little glimmer that we did, being that, our experience was in entrepreneurship and building businesses, we had people who was just drawn to that, and they would just pull on us, and it wasn't good. My husband was trying to figure out, 9 to 5, he started working Uber, trying to make sure that we were staying afloat. I was working, again, wasn't making enough money, but just feeling really terrible. And my job was just causing me even more anxiety, more stress, more depression, more health issues. The last few years, especially last year, had taught me to slow down, and my husband to slow down. And sometimes this is when people say that going through that type of hardship is a blessing in disguise. It taught us to slow down and reevaluate what success meant, what friendships meant, what pouring into yourself, what self-care really meant, what our faith really meant, what all of these things really meant to us. And we had to take a hard look at our lives, where we came from, where we were, where we are, and where we want to go. And it was difficult. It was very difficult. One of the things that really blessed us during this time and kind of kept the joy in our home was the fact that we welcomed 2 little puppies. Our Lulu and Lily, and my husband actually said they saved his life. My husband wasn't a dog person at all. He never had pets growing up. So our entire marriage, he would be like, if we had a dog, it would literally be an outside dog. It couldn't come in the house. It couldn't sleep in our bed. It just, no, 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 no. So we didn't. And I knew that we were getting ready to go into some type of transition. So I ended up, or I just knew, call it women's intuition, that we needed some life into our home. Actually, let me take that back. I told my husband that we got a puppy and we were going to go pick it up. And he didn't object. He didn't say much. He kind of just said, okay. And we went to my mom's and we picked up Lulu. She was a little tiny thing, 6 weeks old, so cute. And we were both kind of like brand new parents. We don't have children of our own. So we were kind of like, what do we do? So we went to PetSmart and we bought a carrier and a cute little pillow and I think a toy and some treats and some dog food. And we were like, we have a puppy. And so because we were home, this was during the time that we were home. And I had the time to train Lulu. I spent time with her and socialized her and made sure that she was taken care of and loved and all the things. And then within, I think 6 weeks, we ended up bringing her litter mate home with us, Lily. And we nurtured her and brought her home. Didn't get a chance to train her because by that time we were both going back to work. We knew Lulu needed a companion while we were gone. So we keep them both together. And it's been a beautiful journey of discovery and fun and laughter with them ever since. So I think having them enter our home is what really gave us that glimmer of hope. So I realized with all that was going on with us, I still had a dream. I know my husband has a dream of, being an entrepreneur still. I still had a dream. I had to figure out a way to bring joy back into our lives, but my life specifically. And I realized that, our dream sometimes gets buried under work, grief, family, responsibilities, just how life just be lifing, In the end, my aunt often says this verse, this scripture, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And I realized that my hope was being deferred. I realized that my hope was, put on pause, and I just couldn't see my way back to it. And I knew that was the anchor. That's what I needed to drive the joy back into my life, if that makes any sense. And I started small. Even though I don't feel like I'm an artist, I feel like I am a creative being. So I started creating again perfume workshops. I did a corporate one. I did one for a woman who had an event, and it was about 15 women at the perfume workshop. I think I did another pop-up where this lady hosted a luncheon, and she had about 40 of her women come, and we were shopping and mixing perfumes at a perfume bar. And it just started to grow and it started to build. I've always mixed fragrances. So this was just my way, just a little step to get me back to bringing joy back into my life. And I leaned into what I knew. I didn't want to start anything new or from scratch. I leaned into what I knew. I knew apparel, I knew candles, I knew fragrances. I knew that I could start creating again. And then I started hosting these women's gatherings, and I wanted to do it in an elevated way. So I hosted a luncheon at the end of 2025, which was absolutely beautiful. I hosted a Valentine's Day, which was again beautiful. And I don't say beautiful and just the aesthetics, because I love, like I said, the taper candles and the centerpieces with fresh flowers and the water glasses and the champagne glasses and each table setting, every little detail. That is just everything. But also the richness of the conversation and women being guided with affirmation and pouring into each other and allowing them to be seen and heard and connected and building community. It was something that I was desiring. And it was something that not only did I need, but I knew other women needed it too. Why? Because they were telling me that they did. This chapter, chapter 50, it's not about me becoming something new. It's about me becoming more of who I've always been. I've always been a creative being. I've always wanted to be a creative entrepreneur since I was in my 20s. Recently, at one of my coffee and conversation meetups that I'll talk about in future episodes, my aunt shared with me, because we were talking about my desire to create these beautiful, meaningful gifts and these meetups and these gatherings. And she said, do you know I still have a gift that you gave me when you were in your 20s? Mind you, I'm sharing the fact that this is chapter 50. So over 30 years ago. And she said, I just look at it and it reminds me of you. And it's so beautiful. And that just did everything to me, because I want to create things that make people feel beautiful and empowered and just special. I know it might sound corny, but that's just me. So for the longest time, I thought that starting over meant that I had failed. I struggled with failure for so long, and people will say, failure, they'll use those as learning tools. And there were moments that I did, but I'm human, and I still felt that I was failing and that I failed, and I had a lot of shame, and I didn't feel confident anymore in myself, and I didn't have courage anymore. And people thought, well, you fail forward. I wasn't failing forward. I felt like I was failing into health issues and grief and hope deferred and lack of my faith. And I don't feel like that was me failing forward. I really felt like that was me just crumbling. And now what I think it means is still having the courage to begin again. I feel so alive. I feel strong. I feel mentally more focused and more clear. Even more so now than when I was in my 20s. I've slowed down. I feel like I want to live a more intentional life. I want my life to be filled with beautiful, meaningful things. And so I no longer want to have the hustle type of lifestyle, and not necessarily soft. I do believe in bringing softness into your life. It's given me the courage to begin again. And I think that idea is so powerful. It's so powerful, especially when you're down. The only way to go is up. That's where I'm going. I'm going up, baby. It's still a work in progress. So for those of you who are worried about perfection and worried about getting everything right and worried about getting, hitting all your points, listen, I have consumed so much content where you think that final product is the person who has mastered their content. I would love for them to show the bloopers. That's what I would want to see, because there's no way that in the beginning, which is where we are, in the beginning, that you've mastered it. So yeah, my sign off is super a work in progress. But if you stayed with me to the end, just know I'm a recovering perfectionist, a recovering people-pleasing person. And maybe I'll edit this out. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll keep it in. Maybe I'll keep it as a blooper. I don't know yet. But as you grow with me, you will learn that nothing is perfect. Everything starts from scratch. When you make a cake, you don't have a beautiful, frosted, delicious cake from the beginning. You start with eggs and flour and oil and water and mixing, and it's messy in the beginning. We can't control the outcome, But the goal is to have something beautiful that you can savor and enjoy and share. And that's what this channel is all about. So if you stuck with me this long, I love you, because yes, this is chapter 50, and where I am building a business from scratch and creating the life that I love along the way. So I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.